Welcome to Just Enough to Get Started in the field of bioinformatics, and this third video on R will be about importing data into R and Rstudio. So we'll be importing today two types of files, a CSV file and an XLSX file. So CSV files are comma separated value formats, and they're very similar to text files, but also similar to tab separated value format files. That simply means that there's commas between the information, between the values, or tabs between the values. Excel files, as you know, are straight from Excel, and those are very common to work with as well. So let's jump in. So what we're going to do here is I am going to go back to my main window for my virtual machine for Ubuntu Mate 18.04 and simply go to my menu and type in Rstudio, and as you see, I don't even have to type that many letters in before Rstudio pops up, and I can press enter and start Rstudio right away. So as you remember from last time, we have the console, the terminal, and our files and formats and packages. So if we want to import data, the simplest thing we can do is let the IDE, or this Rstudio, the Integrated Development Environment, IDE, take the lead and help us walk through the process of importing data. So if I go to File, I see halfway down Import Dataset, and I can go to From Text using the base program. So let's press it, and here we have the window looking through the folders, the folder files, and we can simply click on Downloads to find the folder we want, and the first folder we're going to download is the Male Death Rates, All Types of Cancer between the years of 2011 and 2015. That is the CSV file. We'll open it, and as you notice, this Import Dataset window shows up. It's a little crowded, but we'll sort of walk through the information. So here, obviously, is the name of the file that we're looking at. That's fine. This import file piece of information shows all the data that's in the file basically as it's seen from a text editor, let's say. On the data frame portion, a data frame is how R keeps its data and stores its data, and we see this dark header, area, cancer type, year, sex, age adjusted rate, death count, and population. So there's 7 columns, and we have states, probably 50 or actually 51 because I know we have the District of Columbia somewhere listed there. That's fine. So if we look at the encoding, we see that it's possible to have different types of encodings. Different computers code numbers and letters differently. We'll let it do it automatically. That's fine. That's no problem. We'll also choose the automatic row names. So the row names has read that properly. They're state names. The separators has chosen the default, which is comma, which is correct. So if we had spaces here, we might assume that it's tabs. If we had semicolons, we could separate files by that as well. So let's choose our comma. Let's choose our periods or commas. Now in Europe, they use commas for the periods, and we use in America periods for the decimal system. We'll choose that. If we had quotes and information that was added information or annotation, we might file that there were some double-quoted files, double-quoted information further on the right-hand side. That's fine. We could also have comments. So just as programs have comments using hashtags or other sort of incidental markers, we could choose comments that start with this, and it would simply not read those in as information and files. So we also have the ability to put in strings or information that is not available. So if we look at this, we find that all the information is there. There are no holes, no missing data. So if we did have missing data, we might want to add NA, not available, into this. And that would simply show up as an NA scattered around here. And it might require us to do something slightly different, but that's okay. So let me see if I can go back to automatic here so we don't have any differences. And now that we've checked this, we can simply press import. And what it does is it allows us, well, let's move this around. It allows us to view the information as we've viewed it before. So here's our area, our states, and we can scroll through it, look through all of it. Here's the District of Columbia and our 50 states. That's fine. We also have the 7 columns, and we can check this by going over to the environment window on the right-hand side. So our file name is male, death rates, all types of data, and it says we have 51 observations or 51 rows, states, including the District of Columbia, and 7 columns or 7 variables. Now, if we looked at this bottom portion of the console, we would see that it ran basically 2 lines of code. And that code is simply the code that you could copy and paste if you wanted to use it again. But it simply says the information that the computer is going to call this long name will be read by the program that reads CSV files, and it will go to this directory, downloads, and then look for this file type with the CSV and open that file with many of the defaults. So there's no changes here basically. It's all defaults. That's fine. And then once it reads it in, it says let's view that information, let's view that file. And simply what it does is it opens up this window to allow us to view it. That's fine, that's great. So the next thing we'll do is to load the XLS file, and that's the Excel data file. Now what I'm going to do here is slightly different, but let me explain 2 things. So we go to File, Import Dataset, and we see Excel, but we also see SPSS, SAS, and Stata. These are different programs that allow different types of scientists to load their data. So SPSS is primarily used in sciences for psychology and sociology. SAS is used in science, but also financial work and statistical work. Stata is another type of program that allows for number manipulation and data processing. So it allows us to sort of download and work with all these different file types. So we're going to choose the Excel. And what it does is it loads the library for us. So this window comes up, importing Excel data, and it says you're going to read some Excel data. We want to call that data set some name, and we want to read it with Excel, and we want to find the file name, and then we'll view it. So if you go to the top left-hand side, you see file or URL. You could actually put a URL site here, and it would download it from the internet. But ours is on the computer. We'll simply browse it and go to downloads. And here we see the female death rates in the XLSX format. And we'll simply highlight that and then press open again. Now, it took a second to load, but it told us something very interesting. So if we go back to this code preview window, it does the same thing that we saw with the CSV file. It says, here is the folder name, here is the folder name as well, here's the folder type or the XLSX suffix format, and then it says open up and view this information. So here we have the information. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns, 7 variables, and we have assumingly 50 rows of information. And we can look at that. If we want to scroll down, it looks like there's no holes, no missing data. That's fine. So if you look at this a little more closely, you see that area is a character type of data. That's fine. That's what we'd expect. States are strings of characters. We also see cancer type as character, year is character. We could change this to numeric or date if we wanted to do some manipulation, but we don't for right now. That's fine. Female is a character string. Now, for the age-adjusted rate, we have something different. We have double. That simply tells the computer that there is a number with a double length numerical format. We can actually change this if we want to. It's no different between using double and numeric, but we'll simply change it and we'll call all these numbers numeric. That's fine. And if we look down below at the code preview, it simply calls the type of data as we've asked for it. So 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4 columns are text, and the last 3 are numeric. That's fine. If we look at the very bottom here on the left-hand side, we see again the name of the file. We see how many rows. If we wanted to, let's say, only download the first 10 rows, the first 10 states, we could do that. If we had information at the very top of the file, sometimes people put guides and information on the top couple lines of Excel. We could skip that information. As of right now, we're skipping the 0th line. Computers start with 0. And the 0th line is area, cancer type, year, sex, and the numerics. That's fine. The sheet is one sheet, that's fine. The range is, as you'd kind of expect for Excel, A1 to D10. If we looked at the Excel data, that would be fine. And then we have the NA. Are there any missing data points? If there were missing data points, we could have NA added to hold the place of that data. But it looks like we're all set right now. So going back to the bottom right hand of the window, we see that we can import or cancel. We'll import this data. And again, we see that it's simply called the commands that we were looking for, that did all our work for us basically. It called the male files one name and the female files the other name, and looked at the text types or the column types, and then allowed us to view that. And to double check, we have the male and female data types in 51 rows or observations with 7 columns, and we're ready to work. This is the end of this importing video, but we'll talk about data manipulation and munging data and doing some other things with the data on the next video. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.